Welcome to the Engaged at Any Age Summit. I'm your host, Jackie Sabrin, and today we have a hot topic and a wonderful expert, Mary Pritchard. Mary, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Jackie. I'm really looking forward to this.
Oh, so am I. Love the topic. Who is this Prince Charming anyway? I love that. Who is this Prince Charming anyway? We're going to find out. But before we dive into it, I really want to tell the audience a little bit more about you. And so, Mary E. Pritchard, you're a PhD, HHC, and the founder of Thriving, Awakening the Goddess Within virtual community. You're also a professor of psychology at Boise State University and an esteemed blogger at Psychology Today and the Huffington Post, there we go, and a frequent contributor to Aspire magazine. I love Aspire magazine, and I'm sure I've read one of your articles there. And so, do you want to add anything to this introduction?
You know, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And really, why Jackie asked me to be here today is my role is that I empower women. I empower women to really find their, I call it inner goddess. It could be your inner diva, inner guide, whatever works for you. Because what I want to talk about today is that really, you know, who is this Prince Charming? You can't find this Prince Charming until you found it within yourself. And so that's what I help women do, is really get their mojo back, get their groove on, so that they're ready to meet the love of their life.
Oh, that's so fantastic, because that is the key, that mojo, just dropping into the confidence and the self-love and being able to access that really opens a woman up and makes her so desirable to men. And so I love that you chose this. Who is Prince Charming anyway? So let's dive right in with who is Prince Charming?
Oh wow, I think Prince Charming is a number of different things to different women, and I think it really does depend on you, because my Prince Charming is not going to be your Prince Charming. But before we even get to that point, I want to erase a couple of myths that I think a lot of women are really brought up thinking are true. And the first one is that you're broken and you need fixing. And so we think that this prince, right, our prince is going to come in and it's going to, you know, ride in on the white stallion and save us from ourselves, right? So we have this unrealistic expectation that we're broken and that our Prince Charming is this man that is going to come sweep us off our feet and save us. And I think the second half of that myth is that, kind of being the broken part, is that we feel like we're not whole and complete as we are. And so we're waiting for this prince to come in and save us from ourselves, and not only that, but to complete us, like two halves of a whole, like the yin and the yang. And that's all fine and good, but here's the reality. If you feel like you're broken and you feel like you need completing, what you're going to get, law of attraction, you're going to attract a man who is broken and feels like he needs completing. And ladies, let me tell you this. That's an unhealthy man and an unhealthy woman, and that's an unhealthy relationship.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So let's talk about Prince Charming, because that's how I was raised. I was raised on Disney, right? We all have the fairy tales.
That magic, and then it doesn't happen. We're so disappointed that it's not coming true for us, and so it can cause a lot of disillusion. Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. You know, we watch Snow White and we watch, you know, Cinderella and some of these wonderful Disney stories, and we have this idea in our head of what our prince is going to be, and then it doesn't happen because we keep attracting these broken men who also feel like they need to be fixed and need to be completed, and then it just doesn't work. They're not our prince. They're like a boy that needs our help, and they want a mama, and we don't want them. We don't want to be a mama, you know. We got our own kids. We don't want to worry about that.
So true, and easy to even revert into that role because like you said earlier, we need to be rescued. So maybe that's the role that we're playing in it. But it's not. It's very dysfunctional to think along those lines and to show up that way. So what qualities does Prince Charming possess?
You know, what I want you to do, because I do think it varies from woman to woman. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a journal out, get a pen out, and I want you to brainstorm your answer to the following questions.
Okay.
Who is my Prince Charming? Who am I waiting for? So I want you to write a list of all the traits, all the things, all the characteristics that you want in your ideal mate.
Yeah, I think it's great because getting clarity of what exactly you want is going to help you tune your vibration to that. If you're just going at it, you know, just looking around, not having any intention, it's too, I mean, talk to us about why it's important to do this step.
So I think it's really important, as you just said, to do this step because we got to get clear on what we want. Because my Prince Charming is not, Jackie's Prince Charming is not your Prince Charming. And so my Prince Charming, okay, if I had to make my list, I would say he would be loyal and kind and would treat me with respect and love, and he would love me unconditionally as I am and not being trying to fix me, right? I don't want to attract someone who thinks I'm broken and need fixing. That's not what I want at this point in my life. He would listen to me, he would care about what I had to say, he would make me smile, he would be supportive and emotionally really there for me and would help me grow as a person, you know. And I realized that really, I think I just described my dog. But anyway.
Those are beautiful characteristics.
Yeah.
Those are really a great foundation of probably most of those qualities are on everyone's list, but then there's those little things that would really stand out. And so I think having that list is so important. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So now the question is, what do you do with that list? How do you attract Prince Charming, right? Absolutely. So once you figure out who your prince is, here's the next step. And this is the step you've probably never done. Okay, so I want you to look back at that list of traits and characteristics, all those things you just wrote down. Okay. And I want you to, from the outside looking in, take a look at you. So, are you kind, whatever your characteristics are? Are you loyal? Are you supportive? Are you, do you love a man unconditionally? Or are you trying to fix him and change him? Because you have to be, this is really the key here, you have to be the person you want to attract. Because you can write down all these traits, but if you still on the inside feel like you're broken and need to be completed, that's what you're going to attract, is a man who's broken and is looking for somebody to mommy him and complete him. So you got to be your own Prince Charming.
Yeah, I like that. You have to be your own Prince Charming, and I like it the way you articulate that. So is that how you're going to attract that energy into your life, by exuding those qualities that you want in a partner?
Exactly. So you've got to be the person you want to attract, because it's simple law of attraction, right? If you think you're broken and need fixing, that's what you're going to attract, is a man who is broken and needs fixing. If you embody those traits of your ideal Prince Charming, then that is what you're going to attract. And so what you may realize, and this was kind of after my divorce a few years ago, this was my wake-up call. I realized that I didn't embody most of the traits that were on that list. You know, yes, I was kind, yes, I was loyal, but did I love my ex-husband unconditionally? No. Was I constantly trying to fix him? Yes. So I wasn't treating him like I wanted to be treated, and so no wonder, right? No wonder it wasn't working for me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that and being so transparent. I think that's really important that you shared that, because it's true. I mean, looking back in my own life, I did the same thing. You know, I was doing those things to my ex-husband, and I wasn't really being that person that I wanted to attract. And we were stuck in a pattern together, and we were not showing up in the way that we wanted to be and hoped in each other, but we were just mirroring each other's behavior. And so I'm really happy that you're highlighting this. Can you kind of speak into that a little bit more?
Yeah. So what I learned, and from my own reflections on my 21-year relationship with my ex-husband, was that I really had embodied the qualities that society tells women that they should embody, right? To be the good wife and the good mother and the good hostess and the good, really a people pleaser, a doormat, you know? And so I wasn't getting my needs met because I was afraid to even figure out what my needs were, let alone actually speak them out loud. So after my divorce and after I kind of healed through that, I started looking at this Prince Charming ideal because I was still waiting for him to ride in on this white stallion because I knew it wasn't my ex. I had no illusions about that. But I was still sitting there, you know, waiting for my Prince Charming to ride in. And then as I started really looking at, okay, well, who is this man? I realized that, you know, I couldn't attract someone that I didn't believe was possible for me. And really that was the core of it. I had to work on my own self-worth issues and self-love issues to believe I was worthy of a man who actually is worthy of me, right?
Yes.
So I had to learn how to be my own Prince Charming so that I could attract a man who had those same qualities. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes perfect sense, and I'm really happy that we're talking about this because that's exactly what women need to do. And so how can you do that? You're talking about being your own best friend and attracting and being your own Prince Charming. How can women take steps to start to become that which they're seeking?
Yeah. I think a lot of times, you know, as women, we are so good at criticizing ourselves. We're our own worst enemy and not our own best friend. And so really, I think you have to start looking at, you know, treat yourself as you would your best friend. Because I think a lot of times we are so harsh and so critical on ourselves, but there again, if you're harsh and you're critical on yourself, guess what you're going to attract? A man who is harsh and critical of you, which is not what we want, right? It is not Prince Charming.
Yeah.
But I had that, right? I had that in my marriage because that was what I really embodied, all those things that he said to me about myself. I was like, oh my gosh, he's right. I really am a total, you know, messed up basket case. But I wasn't. I bought in to that notion. And so once I separated myself from that and really started to question those beliefs. So I like to call her your inner mean girl, right? So we all have an inner mean girl who comes out and is very judgmental and is very critical. And what I learned how to do when I was kind of trying to become my own best friend is I learned to have conversations with my inner mean girl. And what I realized is this. Yes, she's mean, but she's not coming from a place of anger. She's coming from a place of fear. Yeah. So when your inner mean girl says to you, you're never going to attract a Prince Charming, what you need to do is get your journal out and have a conversation with her and say, okay, why? Why don't you think I'm ever going to meet my Prince Charming? And then she'll say whatever she says. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not whatever it is that you have these issues of fear around, that you're never going to meet the right person because you're less than, and then you have a slew of qualities, right? And so then you have to take each of those characteristics and dive into those. Why do you think I'm not good enough? What about my past has made you think that? And that's when you really start to heal. Because so many times, you know, the inner voice of the critic comes out and we just want to be like, no, and forget about that. And we just don't want to think about that. But when you push her to the side, you're not acknowledging her, and so she's not going to go away. So you really have to challenge her and figure out where it came from and heal that. And that is when you'll start to notice a change in your behavior and your thought patterns and then your actions, so you can start to be your own best friend and be your own Prince Charming. And that, and only then, are you really going to attract the right person for you.
Yes, oh, thank you. That's so true, and I love that you have emphasized journaling, because unless we take steps to do that self-inquiry and try to, you know, determine what it is that these limiting beliefs that are operating, we just get stuck in that pattern. And so I think that journaling is just critical to our own, evolution. It's so important that we do that. So I'm so happy that you suggested that twice. I know a lot of women that just need to just start simply writing it down. I love the mean girl, and just start with that and asking yourself questions. What am I afraid of? And going from there and just following that all the way to its source. See if you can identify where it originated. And usually you can. You start to really put into it.
Yeah. And I think the second part to that is that a lot of women who come to see me, their self-worth comes from other people, from approval.
Yes, that a pleaser, and that's what happens when we are in a long committed relationship, in a first marriage, where we are pleasing. It's really our role to please, take care of the children, the house, the husband, like you said, and we end up believing that that's just the way it is without questioning it.
Exactly.
We accept it, and we do look for approval outside of ourselves because we're looking to our family to show us how we're showing up. And they do, and so it right away our approval is established outside of ourselves, and sometimes we never even realize that it needs to come from within.
Exactly. So I think that next step, after you've journaled, you've kind of fought with your inner mean girl and started healing that, is to really write down, who am I? At my core. I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't care what anybody else has told you. It's you. Who am I at my core? And I think as you start to dive in, you're going to realize that you are an incredibly strong and courageous and brave woman. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about you, really. At the end of the day, as long as you're happy with you, then who cares, right? And until you're happy with you, you're not going to attract a man who's happy with him. So there again, it's the law of attraction thing. So once you've healed those old toxic beliefs, and like Jackie and I, if you're in a situation where you're divorced, and your first marriage kind of was exactly how Jackie just described, where you were the good wife, the people pleaser, and that was really your role. And then I think a lot of women, including myself, when I got divorced, I kind of fell apart for a while because I didn't even know who I was anymore.
Yeah.
And so I had to figure that out.
Yeah, that's a difficult phase because you become back to you, but you kind of abandon yourself in the relationship. So you have a little bit of an identity crisis. At least I experienced that. Like, who am I? And I love that you said to journal that. Who am I? And start to establish, who you are and who you want to be.
Exactly. Yeah, and who you want to be, really, and that is. So if you're journaling, who am I, and you're coming up with phrases like people pleaser and doormat, right? So then it really becomes, who do I want to be? I want to be this strong, courageous, brave woman who loves herself and respects herself and honors herself. So then it's kind of going back to the who's your Prince Charming, right? So you've got to learn how to be that to attract that.
I love the steps you're giving. So journaling what you want, the characteristics and values you want in your Prince Charming, and then taking steps to become those things and evaluate if you're there, the things you're wanting, and then start to give yourself a little bit of a tune-up. So how can you empower your life so that you can open the doorway for your Prince Charming to come into your life? I know you've talked about the law of attraction, but what are some other steps that you can begin to do to start to open that door for him?
So I think first step is, figure out what you want. Okay. Second step is heal whatever needs to be healed in your past so that you can start opening to that energy and really being your own Prince Charming. I think the third step, and this was a tough one for me, is you got to break down the wall around your heart. Because let's face it, ladies, I think that a lot of us, when we get to our late 30s, early 40s, even into 50s and 60s, if we've been burned, so to speak, we've had bad relationships, we've built this wall around our heart to protect it.
Yeah.
Because we are so afraid of getting hurt. But until you knock that wall down and open it back up, you aren't going to attract love. So if you're still operating from a place of fear fear of rejection, fear of hurt, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of whatever, that wall is still going to be there and it's going to be firmly in place. So what I like to do, and I'm moving from journaling to yoga, and if yoga isn't your thing, that's fine. I'll give you some other things. But one of the things that I learned to do, because I've been practicing yoga for a very long time, is to do some chest opening poses. So really, even if yoga isn't your thing, it's like good posture, right? You're standing up tall, you're opening your chest, kind of sticking the ladies out there, right? You're sticking your boobs out. Mm-hmm. And as you do that, say to yourself, I am open to receiving and giving love. And because I think a lot of us, after we've been burned a few times, it literally affects our posture. And we kind of, go in on ourselves and we hunch over. And that's not attractive. And B, it's not giving off the message that you're open. It's giving off the message, I'm a closed, hurt, wounded soul. And so for me, it was really literally opening my heart to love. And I had to do a lot of chest opening and posture work. And that may seem ridiculous, but it worked for me. It really does. You're literally opening the portal for love. And if you follow yoga or follow metaphysics or anything, they talk about the heart chakra being kind of the center for love. And that really what you're doing is you're opening your heart and you're activating that and saying, okay, I'm going to break down my heart wall. And I'm going to open myself to receive love. So until you've done those steps, you really aren't ready.
Yes, I agree. I'm so happy that you outlined the steps. Now, can we just back up a little bit and talk about that healing? Because I think that a lot of women may make their list and then they know what they want, but they feel they have this, healing to do, but then they might just go and get into a relationship and take those wounds, into the next relationship. What steps, I know the journaling, can women take to begin to heal those old relationship wounds?
There's an exercise that I love to do after breakups or after whatever, called the letting shit go exercise.
Good, okay.
And basically what you're going to do when you dive into your inner mean girl, okay, and you find the origin of where these false beliefs came from and what she's protecting you from, I want you to write a letter to every person that contributed to that belief. So if it was your mother, who told you weren't good enough or you weren't pretty enough or whatever, whatever it may be, write a letter, and I mean a scathing letter. Get it all out, all of the hurt, all of the anger, all of the, that one incident when I was 6 years old turned me into a 43-year-old woman who is a heart wall and is not open to love because I don't think I'm good. I mean, just get it all out.
I love it.
Everybody. It may take you a while. Everyone who has ever contributed to those inner mean girl, rants that, when you get to the origin of that. And then, this is the cathartic part. You're going to burn them. Don't give them to the person. That'll just make things worse. You may be tempted to, but don't do it. Don't do it. Burn them. And as you burn them, say, I'm letting you go. I bless you, and I send you into the light. So you're letting go of the ties, the cords, the hurts that bind them to you, and you're filling that space with love. So for me, that's really healing.
Yeah. Transforming the energy.
Yeah.
With the exhaling all of the things that you have felt have happened, and then burning that to transform that energy into something really positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really wonderful. I've done that before, and it does work.
It does. And sometimes you have to do it multiple times. If you've got years and years of programming, you may have to write 5 letters to your ex, and that's okay.
20 years, one letter, then you peel that layer, and then something else surfaces. Exactly. Write another one and peel that layer, and it's just on and on it goes. And that's really what we need to do all the time. This tool will help anytime you have something that comes up, a grievance or a hurt, to just go ahead and write it all down and burn it. I love that. I'm so glad you brought that up. It really does work.
It does work. The other one, if you're not into burning things or in a place where you don't have access to a fireplace or candles or anything, I call it the universal Hoover. And you just imagine that there's like this black hole underneath your feet. And you just say, you know, I give you everything that no longer serves me. And you just kind of imagine this huge vacuum cleaner sucking all the gunk out of you. That I don't like it as well as the letting shit go, but if you're in a place or if you need a quick release and you just don't have time, like you're about to go, you know, meet your ex because you're exchanging kids for the weekend or something, and you're not in a good place and you don't have time to write a letter and you don't want to do it with your kids, you know, you can visualize in your head this universal Hoover, like, okay, just suck all the anger, all the negativity out of me so I can deal with this man from a loving place and not, you know, set a bad example for my kids. So that can be like a quick, you know, you're standing in the line at the grocery store and something just triggers you and you're like, oh, real quick, universal Hoover, okay, suck all that negativity out of me and then replace it with love and light, right? So that can be a quick go-to fix too.
Oh, Mary, I love that you're giving these metaphors and these examples because they really do work, and you need to have a lot of tools in your toolbox because these things do happen. We do get triggered. Life happens, and if you have this in mind, this Hoover, I think that's brilliant because it's just so simple. You visualize the Hoover, and then you can take care of it. And dealing with your feelings is your responsibility because they're your feelings, and you don't want to project those onto your family, people that you love and care about, especially because most of the time they're sourcing from the past, right? They're not even happening in that. All past wounds that have been healed, and so you don't want to take those into your daily life and contaminate your relationships. So this is really self-loving, self-nurturing step to do is to process your feelings through the burning, like you said, or the Hoover. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the other.
Go ahead. You have another thing?
I was just going to say, you know, once you feel like you've healed.
Okay.
And you're really ready. Okay. So how are you going to attract your Prince Charming? Okay, you've made your list. Okay. You're working on getting in alignment with that list, so becoming your own Prince Charming. Okay. The other thing, and again, after you've healed, right? You can't be doing two things at once. You really got to heal those past beliefs. Otherwise, as Jackie said, you're just going to carry them into the next relationship, and we don't want that. We don't want to repeat past mistakes. We've already lived that once. We didn't like it. That's why we don't want to do it again.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're highlighting that, emphasizing that.
Yeah. So when you're really ready to step in to attracting your Prince Charming, I call it envision what you want. Have you ever made a vision board, Jackie?
I have. I love vision boards.
Love them. Yeah.
They really work.
So get together. I did this on Christmas Day with one of my girlfriends. We made our vision boards for 2015 on Christmas Day. Just get some wine, get some girlfriends together, go buy, you know, cheap poster board from the grocery store, get a bunch of old magazines, and just start going through and ripping out pictures, phrases, words, sentiments, whatever, that really symbolize what you want to attract into your life. So in this case, what do you know, it could be all about your prince, or it could be in general. What do I want my life to look like? It could have stuff for your business, and it could have stuff for your kids. I mean, right? It doesn't have to just be Prince Charming, because the power of positivity is that once you become that person, become that Prince Charming, you're going to attract him anyway. But I think I'm a very visual person, and so it helps me to have a visual reminder. So I made this vision board, and then I put it in my bedroom right across from my bed. So it is the first thing, literally the first thing I see when I get up in the morning, and the last thing I see when I go to bed each night. And I do it every year for whatever I'm trying to attract into my life that year. So again, it can be all about your Prince Charming, or it can be about other stuff that I want to manifest a vacation to Hawaii, so I'm going to make a vision board about that, right? It can be anything. But envision what you want and put it somewhere where you're going to see it a lot. and remind yourself, oh yeah, okay, am I acting in a way that's congruent with that vision, or have I kind of fallen back into that negativity and that, you know, resentment and that doormatish people pleaser, and oh, let's get the Hoover out, or let's write some more letters and burn them, and get back on alignment with that vision.
Oh, I love that. I think that's great that you made a vision board on Christmas Day. And yeah, all that passion around looking at your vision board, it just creates that excitement and really bolsters up the belief that it's really going to happen. And you need to have a lot of belief about what you're wanting to create in your life. That's what it requires, is you to have absolute faith, at gut level knowing that it's going to happen for you.
Yeah.
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 I'm going to do a vision board. I've been taught. I've made one before, but I have some new aspirations. And my husband and I are looking for a home, and we want an ocean view. It's funny that you said that. So my first step was to create this picture behind me with an ocean view. And so when I come in and I look at it, it does remind me that what I'm wanting to stay congruent, like you said, on what I'm wanting to create in my life, and don't allow any negativity or thoughts to the contrary, because I need to keep that focus on my point of view and what I want, just like you said, to stay in alignment. And so what are some other things that women can do to stay in alignment? What can support them? I love the vision board, the journaling, these steps. So what about day to day? Is there any other things that could support a routine that you do that you recommend?
Yeah. So every morning, first thing, I check in with myself. It's kind of like, think of it like an energy tank or fuel in a car, right? So when I wake up in the morning, I think, okay, how am I doing today? If you're less than 50%, number one, first thing you need to do is get yourself back up there. If you're, tired because you didn't sleep enough, or whatever the case may be, if you're waking up and you're like, oh, I'm like at 37% today, you're going to ask yourself, okay, what can I do right now to raise my energy level up? Because you've got to stay in that high energy, positive vibration level to really attract what you want. Because again, if you're all negative, you're going to attract negativity. So every day, I check in with myself. And if I'm like, this morning I was at 87%, I'm like, woo, yay. What's going to keep me there, right? And so it's like, oh, I'm going to do a little dancing, a little singing. That'll keep me there, keep my vibration up. But some days, I don't sleep enough, or I just had a really rough day the day before, and I wake up and I'm like at 37%. And it's like, okay, warning, stop, do not pass go, fuel yourself up. And so what I tell my clients to do is come up when you're at a level above 50%, so like you're like in the 70s or the 80s, and you're in a good space, write down a list of your go-to things that make you happy. Maybe it's one of mine, I love Farrell's Happy, 24hoursofhappy.com. When I hear that song, I just start dancing and singing, and immediately it raises my vibration. Maybe for you it's getting outside and going for a walk, or petting your dog, or getting a mani-pedi, or whatever, right? Have this list. As many things as you can think of. So when you wake up one morning and you're like at 37% and you're asking yourself, okay, what can I do today? And you're like, God, I have no idea. I want to go back to sleep, but I can't because I have to go to work and get the kids to school, whatever. Get that list out. You're like, okay, I can't take the day off, which I would love to do, but I can do, a 3-minute dancing and singing around the living room, right? So that's your go-to list to consult, to really keep in, your highest vibration so that you're more in alignment with your goals. And at the end of the day, I like to reflect. How did I do today? I'm looking at my vision board, right? Because it's the last thing I see before I go to bed. Like, how did I do today? What do I want to improve on tomorrow? And it's not just about negativity. So the first thing I do is say, today I appreciate myself for. What did I do today that was in alignment? What did I say no to? And then choices that maybe didn't support me so much. So what do I want to do better tomorrow? And then end on a loving note, right? With an I love you, or you're doing great, or sing, or whatever. End on a positive note before you go to bed, and then that way you're more likely to wake up in a positive note the next day.
I love it. I love it. And I couldn't agree with you more. Every step and and tool that you have recommended are absolutely spot on. I actually did all of those steps and manifested my Prince Charming and got married last year. And so I know that these strategies work. And so what you want to do is just really, I hope you took notes during the interview so that you can apply these to your life right away. I love what you're saying, Mary. Couldn't agree with you more. Thank you so much. Last little piece is you talked about how to live an empowered life. So I guess to pull this all together, you've already really outlined how to do that as a whole, just to be consistent, I would imagine, and congruent, like you said, to pursue and to make sure every day you're on track to create that you want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I do first thing in the morning after I check in with myself is I ask myself, what are the 3 most important things that I can do today to make my dreams come true? Baby steps, right? You don't have to, ask the guy out who lives next door. I mean, if you're not ready for that, don't do that. But what are 3 little things I can do today? And that way I'm assured that every single day when I go to bed, I know I've done at least 3 things that were in alignment with where I'm trying to go.
Oh, I love that. That is a sure way to stay on track. And so I want to tell the audience that if you want to watch Mary's interview at your leisure, you can upgrade to be able to see her interview and all the expert interviews on this summit by going to engaged@anyage.com/upgrade. And that way you can purchase the summit and have them at your disposal, because these tips that she's providing, they actually do work, and you want to take time to really go over it and start applying them in your life today. And so I wanted to let you know that. Also, I know you have a terrific gift for our audience, and all they need to do is to click on the link below this video to access that. But why don't you tell us about it, Mary?
Yeah, so the women who come to me are coming to me because they're in that stage where they're kind of stuck. And so kind of going on with that theme of empowerment and really becoming your own best friend so you can attract your Prince Charming, I've created a little 20-plus page ebook for you. And it's 10 signs your inner goddess is calling you and what to do about it, right? So tips to answering that call. And so if you're not sure, you feel like you're kind of stuck, but you don't know where, there's just basically 10 different ways that you might be stuck or ways that might be showing up in your life. And then I give you an exercise for each one to help you get out of that stuckness or get out of that hole that you feel like you might be in. So from my heart to yours, just again, some more empowering steps for you to really get in alignment with your life and attract your Prince Charming.
Oh, thank you, Mary. That's so generous of you. I love the way that you have these strategies, but then you also have an exercise to follow up, because that's the action piece that is going to really make it happen. It's one thing to have the information, but without taking action, it's kind of useless. So I love that you provided the exercise to follow each strategy so that you have a success and you can attract your Prince Charming. So thank you so much for being here today. You've really added so much value to the summit, and I just appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Jackie. I just thank you for putting this together, because I know so many women that are our age that are just crying for something like this and have really given up. And so I think, I hope that this message really empowers women of all ages to really get comfortable with who they are and attract the love of their life.
Oh, that's a wonderful closing. So cheers to you and being engaged at any age. I'm Jackie Sabrin, and thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.